And then the Transformers, David Malinowski. And he brought his punch. It is the last Q&A, obviously. And Lucy Sibbick.
Thank you, sir.
Feels like we should have cocktails for everybody in the audience. Since this is the last one. Gary, before we talk about this film, I want to talk briefly about hair, makeup, glasses, shoes, about how important they are for you as an actor to get that last step of discovering character. And over your career, have you always felt that that final test of hair, makeup, costume, props, glasses has been critical to finding a character?
Well, I think that hopefully you've done the work. That tends to, you're thinking about it, when you're working on a character, but it tends to come later it comes later in the process. There have been occasions, one in particular, where I was working on a character and I thought I was going to be fired, and I thought I don't know how it was just not happening, or as I call it, the cloak of inspiration had not fallen. And at the 11th hour, I went to a costume fitting, tried on a jacket, flicked my hair in the mirror, and went, got him. But it was very late in the day. So this one, with Darkest Hour, it was a little bit of the unknown. I did manage to lure Kazuhiro out of retirement to do it, so I knew that I was in good hands. And I was busy away in my kitchen working on Churchill, and he was in his studio coming up with this face, and he took on the challenge, but was not absolutely sure, that he could pull it off. I tried on 100 pairs of glasses for Smiley, and then you just know when you have the right pair. Shoes, it's the makeup and the clothes. They are the first people that you meet in the morning. They are the closest thing to you. That actually, you're touching them. So they're vitally important in the creation of a character. And then, of course, I love these two and got on with them very well. So
There would seem to be very little connection between Darkest Hour and Planet of the Apes, but there is a important connection between those two films. Can you explain what it is and how that involves Kazuhiro?
The Planet, yes. No, I was thinking of Matt Reeves. Yes, I was almost in the Tim Burton Planet of the Apes, and it was never happened. But I met Kazu, and I had a head cast, a life cast made, and he was puzzling over how to put my face and my nose into a monkey, which was a challenge for Rick and Kazu, for the entire cast. And then but I never ended up working with him, but I then subsequently followed his work. And for my money, he's the best there is.
We should point out that he retired from the film business several years ago.
Yeah.
And as he tells the story, and I have no reason to doubt his storytelling, that you called him up and said, I need you to do two things. I need you to unretire, and I need you to work on this movie, because without you, I'm not going to make it.
Yeah. It was the very first conversation that I had. It was always going to be the elephant in the room. was, you know, of course I look remarkably like Churchill. People say it to me all the time. And so that was going to be the challenge. There was no way. I'm nearly 60, and I was not going to really mess with my health and put on that kind of weight. So it was always going to be a makeup challenge. But when I first sat down with Joe Wright, the director, I said, I want to jump off the ledge with you, but it is contingent on getting this person, because I think he's the only guy in the world who could even remotely have a chance of pulling it off. And he said, you know, sure, okay. And then I said, I'm not going to do the film if you don't do it, Kazoo. So no pressure. Yeah.
Lucy and David, I want to ask you a little bit about when you came onto this project. And for people who are trying to lose some weight and you're about to go out to a fancy meal, I recommend you go on Lucy's Instagram feed, which begins with warning there are some graphic images of simulated surgery on this page. Lucy, you have a very dark side in terms of wounds and viscera and organs and all sorts of exposed flesh. This is a different job for you. So tell me a little bit about how you came on and what you were charged with doing on this show.
So I've worked with David for many years, and he worked with Gary on a job. And then David asked me if I would come on to Churchill Darkest Hour and do Gary's makeup. So I did, and so I applied the makeup with David every day for the film, and then I put Gary's wig on as well. So that's what I'm charged with.
But I see, I'd worked with Dave on, what was that film we did?
Hitman's Bodyguard.
Hitman's Bodyguard. I worked with David on Hitman's Bodyguard, and then of course we needed someone to work on the movie on a daily basis, applying and painting the makeup. And Kazoo said to me, is there anyone in Europe that you've worked with or that you can recommend? And I said, you, it's Dave.
So David, you have a couple of issues with Lucy. You have these, do we call them appliances? What are the prosthetics called in your trade?
Yeah, appliances.
Okay.
Is
And how many are you applying to Gary's face and body on a given day?
We apply a neck piece, which is a complete pullover piece, seamless. Cheeks, both sides, so 3, 4 for the chin, 5 for the nose. And then we have little prosthetics behind the ears that push the ears out just to kind of distort them slightly.
And what are you working backward from? What is the reference? How does that help you, and how does that limit you in terms of not just photographic images, but video of Churchill? And what are you trying to capture that's integral to what you're trying to execute with makeup?
Yeah, it's a long question, that one. Well, I guess we were trying to, or you know, Kazoo originally was trying to capture Churchill, but he wanted Gary to come through the makeup as well. So, you know, all Gary's subtle acting and his little eye twitches and movements, things like that. We didn't want to cover them up with prosthetics because, you know, if you bring our prosthetic pieces sort of finished sort of relatively low, but if you bring them up right under the eyelids when you're acting, you lose those subtle sort of acting nuances, I guess. So, you know, Kazoo worked it out perfectly, really, you know, where we could end the pieces and get them to terminate on Gary's skin.
Yeah, but you tend to see the, you know, as good as the makeup is, or any makeup artist, you know, it is absolutely crucial to where it to where it finishes, because if you did bring it up any higher underneath the eye, we actually tried eye bags, you know, so there would be 2 other pieces. Mm-hmm. But what they then have to stick right underneath the lashes, and when you grimace or move your face, that then tends to for the viewer give it away. Mm-hmm. You go, oh, it's a mask,
right.
for it.
So there's it's is that right? It's
Yeah,
vital,
because I
really.
mean, these pieces were made really, really soft, like a lot softer than with Lucy and I have ever applied before. But how do we say this? I guess, you know, slightly older skin is quite soft and
Keep going.
very mobile compared to maybe younger skin is quite
How
taut,
younger?
taut. And so if you can imagine, you've got you know,
It was diplomatic.
quite if you've just got, if we forget about skin, but if you've just got a material that's relatively firm and you stick something to it and that skin moves, you know, that piece over the top's going to move with it.
Right.
But if you've got something that's quite soft already underneath, say
My skin.
older skin,
Skin of a certain age.
skin that's been around for a while. When you stick anything over the top of that, and then the skin underneath moves, the skin underneath literally moves, and then the bit on the outside doesn't. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's, or it might do, but there's a slight delay in it, and then it can sort of make it look a bit masky, I guess. So if you just don't cover that up to start with, and you leave it exposed, and you decide to terminate it where you do, you know, Gary's amazing acting
Keep going, Dave.
abilities
I'm gonna put Lucy on the spot now.
Put Lucy on the
will just
spot.
keep coming through, and you know, he's
Yeah.
just such an amazing guy, isn't he? Such an amazing
Even though his skin is.
Even though my skin is old. Yes.
Lucy, I want to ask you a little bit about two things. One are the materials that you're getting from the prosthetics, and the seams that you have to create or the seams that you have to hide. So again, it's I guess a two-part question. The materials in terms of their performance, in terms of the way they move in a natural way, how far have those materials evolved over the last 10 or 15 years so that they can replicate the actual performance of skin and flesh? And then what do you have to do to make sure that the seams of where Gary's face ends and Churchill's begins are impossible to detect?
Well, I think Kazu did say that, you know, the methods we're using are quite traditional, but what was different about this was, like Dave said, that the pieces were really, really soft, which makes it more difficult to apply, but ultimately looks better and it moves better on Gary, and he can express himself without it looking too hard. And then the seams, well, we just have to, well, Gary was amazing in how still he sat. He was really patient. So it was just carefully putting the edge down that just makes all the difference, because if you rush it or someone's moving around, it can just look a bit of a state, really. So we've got Gary to thank for that.
But they're like tissue paper.
Oh, tissue paper, yeah.
The ends and the thing. What is it? Because you just for the viewers. Normally, there's a softener, isn't it, that Kazu likes?
It's called a deadener. So you have the silicon, you have the A and B parts of silicon, and it's quite a firm rubber, I guess. And then you add a deadener, which is, I guess, a softener material to it. And like traditionally, you would use sort of 170% maybe of this deadener material, but we upped it to 225%, which makes it really, really soft. And difficult to produce the pieces, and then difficult to stick them onto the skin, because it's almost like trying to stick
Soup and tights, I think we described it as.
Yes.
It's like what, Lucy?
Soup and tights.
Yeah,
It's just really.
like bags of sand, you know,
Right.
just
Yeah.
like really, really, really difficult.
That's a good expression.
It
isn't
is, I like it.
Putting soup into tights.
And you have one shot, because once you get it wrong, you have to toss it out, right? Then it
Yeah.
only is one use.
Yeah, and all the pieces are made fresh, like nothing's reusable, so
Wow.
it's made once, and if you don't, even when you make it, if you don't store it correctly, then they're wasted, so you spend a day making the pieces and they can't be used, so.
And you're
Kazu-
talking, what, how many, like 60? How many do you actually end up making?
Oh, there's quite a lot more. There are quite a few rejects just because of the process and because the
Wow.
silicon's so soft, so, you know, it's 80, 90 sets, just keep, you know.
Kazu did want to make it even softer than that, but the Spanish company that made the pieces didn't think that they would be able to get the pieces out of the mould, so we settled on 225 in the end, didn't we?
And at what point does European baby hair factor into this design, and where does one acquire European baby hair?
I think they sourced it from England, from what Diana, the wig maker, said. But yeah, they just wanted the softest hair and the finest lace, so that it was undetectable. But it's hard work under those lights. You do see it. So
And those
Now, does that mean there are a bunch of bald
Baby
5-year-olds walking around
Well,
London?
yes, but it's not as easy as you think, because once they start crawling, you're chasing them everywhere, those babies.
And with a pair of clippers, it's even harder. Tell me about a typical day. Let's say, theoretically, Joe is going to start filming at 7 a.m. So when do you arrive in the makeup truck? And what time does Gary arrive? How long is that part of the process? So, Lucy and David, when do you arrive?
Well, what would your call be on us? Let's say we had
Let's say
a rehearsal at 8 o'clock.
Okay, 8 a.m.
8 a.m.
So you do 8 a.m. So then you think, right, well, it takes 4 hours to do the makeup. So you go. So that's 4 a.m. straight away to start. Plus Gary has to get in slightly before that. Plus he has to leave his hotel wherever he is. So it's kind of 2:30 in the morning, 3 o'clock. Gary has to leave to get in, to be in the chair for 4 o'clock. But we need to be in an hour or two before that, because we need to prep the pieces for that day. So we're in at 3 or 2 o'clock in the morning. So then we're leaving ours at, say, 1 o'clock in the morning in order to get in.
So we're up at midnight.
You're up at midnight and you're shooting till when?
12 hours?
Yeah, so
And then-
if it's 8, you do 12-hour shoot, and then Gary comes back on the bus. We de-rig for an hour, take his makeup off, and then
That's
we do
9.
another hour or two
10.
prep for the following day.
Drive home.
So maybe
then
3,
drive
4
home.
hours of sleep?
Oh yeah, yeah.
You guys look
yeah.
pretty good for 3 or 4 hours of sleep. If I'd seen you a while back, not so much.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good at least 18 hours a day that Lucy and I were doing. We definitely do the most hours per day on the film, because we're in first and lead last.
Wow.
And if Dave and Lucy had been paid by the hour, they would actually they'd be doing this interview on their yacht.
Gary, this is it's a slow process where there are a fair number of tests and there's a fair number of camera tests, I assume. Is there a moment, is there a day where it all comes together and you find it, where the makeup is all coming together, maybe it's in a rehearsal, where you say to yourself, aha, this is what I'm going to work with?
Yeah, yes, we had we had several tests. I think I had the makeup on 61 times, I think, yeah. And there was the sort of final camera test in London. And we had already had started rehearsal, but I would take the days out to work with these guys and Kazu, and it was really the first camera test that was spectacularly good. I just saw the playback and saw it on the screen and had a chance of seeing what it was going to look like. There were still adjustments to be made, but that was the moment where he arrived. There's 6 months or so of work, a year of work before that moment.
Right.
But with all of that, and then with the clothes, and it was that moment where I thought, this is doable. This could, and fun. This could be such fun. It was a very good day. Yeah.
Lucy and David, we live in an era where so many things relating to hair and makeup can be fixed with the right amount of money through visual effects. This is not a film that had a lot of money to fix things through visual effects. So what does that mean in terms not only of the job that you had to do, but also the corners that you couldn't cut? Not that you would cut corners, but that everything had to be camera perfect, that you wouldn't be able to fix things in post-production after the fact.
Well, usually when you work on a job and you go in to do checks, they go, oh, don't worry about that because we're going to just touch that up in post. But that just wasn't one of these jobs, was it?
Yeah, and that, well, and they promise you that, and they say, "Don't worry, we'll fix it afterwards." And then you go and watch the film at the end, you know, when it's out, and you go, "They didn't fix that." Yeah, they said, but then it's too late. I mean, everything, you know, it's out, it's printed, it's done, isn't it? So
and they say, "Oh, come on, no one's going to notice that."
yeah,
And you go, "Yeah, when your face is." You know, and it's not like they don't know what I look like, so they know what I look like, and then you see it 50 feet across. It's and it's like this type.
Mhm.
Yeah, people do. You know, it's this thing of always this thing of people won't notice, or the audience won't notice, or the audience can't. That's too complex. The audience won't be able to follow that. You hear this stuff again and again and again, and yet I'm sure, like me, you watch long form TV, and you hold these characters and plot lines in your head from week to week, and yet these people, we're in a strange business sometimes.
Lucy and David, I'm going to ask the last question of you. You have done a fair number of shows. Lucy, you're really good with zombies. David, I suspect you've done your own mortal wounds and things like that. When you're doing a historical person like Winston Churchill, that people have a firm idea of what he looks like, and you see Darkest Hour on screen, and you see Gary disappear into this character, is there a different satisfaction that you get from your department based on working on a movie like this that you don't get on other shows that you do?
we do. Yeah, because you're creating or recreating a character that everyone knows, Churchill, and on an actor that everyone knows, Gary Oldman, and I just think, you know, compared to a zombie or an alien or whatever, it either looks like human flesh, or it looks like the character that you're doing, or it doesn't. Do you know what I mean? Whereas you can make an alien, and it can be blue, green, red, blotchy, you know, all these different weird and funky
You've got
colours.
wiggle room.
But you know, on something like this, and because this film was shot over such a short period of time, it's like 5 or 6 weeks in history. Sort of our challenge was to make Gary or Winston look the same every single day, because apart from a few scenes where he might be in bed and his hair might be a bit dishevelled or whatever, he had to look the same all the time. He didn't age, he didn't go through any, he didn't, you know, he wasn't tanned one day and pale the next. He just had to look the same every single day. So I think that was one of the big challenges, really, is to get all the pieces, they're all made by hand, to just look the same every day and apply them the same every day and keep them looking the same every day. Do you know what I mean? That's was kind of one of the tough things we had.
Lucy?
I think another satisfaction is that sometimes you can work on a job and you can get lost in a big team and you don't have such a huge role, but for this job it was a really small team, and we got to do the wig as well, which was different from most other prosthetic jobs, so I think that was even more satisfying, that we had control of the whole look of the character, really.
I tell you what is amazing is often in a makeup film, they knock in on the door. You know, we really need him.
Yeah.
We really need him on set. We were never late.
Wow.
We were on time, and I was.
That's amazing.
I mean, my mantra to any young actor is always, they say, "What advice can you give me?" And I say, "Get there early and know the lines." You know, that's sort of page one, isn't it? But you know, but we were, Lucy and Dave were never late, even, you know, because sometimes you get caught in traffic or something happens, and then that would have really put a spanner in the works. We were always on time, and I think there are many things I'm proud of, but I'm proud that camera never waited for us.
Wow.
Yeah.
Even when they finished early and they pulled stuff forward, we were
We were
alright,
really-
Yeah,
weren't we?
well, and you're always breaking turnaround. Gary's turnaround was always breaking, even though he shouldn't have done. You know, it's always
Right.
because the days were so long that there's not enough hours in the day to then turn around and give Gary his break and then start filming again. They all just wanted to film so quick, and the producers kept coming to us and they said at the very start, even like pre-test stage, how long would it take to do Gary's makeup? and then how quick can you get it? And it's just, you're saying, well, I haven't tried the makeup yet anyway, and we haven't stuck it on, and we haven't, but I estimate this, and it'll be there, it'll be that, and you just start filming, and we just couldn't get it any quicker than 3 hours between us, which is still pretty impressive for that kind of makeup. But and we would just tell the producers, like, I'm really sorry, but if you need to shoot as close as you shoot, as you've just seen the film, the camera's coming right in, and it's just picking up all the skin texture and skin pores. We just said we can't throw it on Gary's face in an hour because you're going to shoot really close on it, and then you won't fix it afterwards, and then Gary wouldn't be sitting here, we wouldn't be sitting here now, talking about it, because people would be thinking, oh my God, look at it.
They would be saying you
looks
were
amazing.
wonderful as Quasimodo.
It looks like
Gary, David, and Lucy, thank you so much for coming out and sharing your story.